Welcome to this maiden discourse of the Liberian View, with a mission, a bridge to a better future for Liberia. This program is jointly sponsored by the Liberian Community Association of the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, which includes parts of Maryland and Virginia that are near the Washington, D.C. area. I'm one of your hosts, Welma Mashinini Red, professor in the School of Global Journalism and Communication at Morgan State University. You may call me Welma. Let's also welcome Lucy Wilson-Kear, my co-host and president of the Liberian Community Association in the Washington, D.C. metro area.
Hello to all. As Wilma rightly stated, my name is Lucy Wilson-Kear. I am the president for the Liberian Association within the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. The Liberian View, a bridge to Liberia's future, a platform in collaboration with the Liberian Association within the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, welcomes you to her first zone forum focusing on the 26th discuss. The theme, Unlocking Liberia's Past, Understanding the Present, and Working Towards a Brighter Future.
Now we have a female young Liberian perspective. Mawata Kamara is a traveling nurse, and she has done a lot of things in California where she is prominently serving as head of some very prominent nursing organizations. More to that, Mawata has established an organization in Liberia called H.E.A.L, and H.E.A.L looks after young people who have been sexually abused, young people who have suffered from sexually aggravated assault. And her organization H.E.A.L helps to provide shelter for them, food for them, and other information that trains them how to protect themselves. Mawata, please.
Happy 26th, everybody. My name again is Mawata Kamara. I am a registered nurse. I got out of the traveling nurse business maybe not too long ago, but I'm still working as a nurse. And I started my foundation, H.E.A.L, which stands for Holistic Education, Advocating, and Leadership, in 2013. After 10 years of living here in America, I decided to go back. Initially, I went back to Liberia, like many people, just to kind of see what was going on. I remember my young days in Liberia. We lived by maternity center or the children's hospital. I had, positive memories of Liberia, and I always had a curiosity to go back and help out, maybe build a school like most people wanted to do. But when I went back to Liberia, the issue that struck me was sexual assault, rape and sexual assault. It started literally for me from the airport. Everywhere, from leaving the airport to the city, every sign that I saw or every pamphlet that I read was about rape. Rape is not good. If someone gets raped, you should report it. And I think it became real for me when I had to go pick up my luggage. I think at Delta or something. I don't remember what airline I flew in with. But the manager at the office at that time, he said, you're coming to pick up your package. Talk to him about what I was in Liberia to do. And he was like, oh, if you want to open a school in Liberia, it shouldn't be a problem for you. And I said, why? And he said, because you're very pretty. That's all you need in Liberia. You're good looking. You go into anybody's office, you can get anything you want. So for me, I was just, I came to Liberia. I had a bachelor's degree in science. I had a minor in public health. I came back because, I love to teach. I wanted to help my country. And then, within 5 seconds, someone narrowed it down to pretty much was you have the looks for it so you can do whatever you want. And it became very clear to me as a woman in Liberia just from all of the conversations that I was having with everybody, it came down to two things: who you're willing to sleep with or who you're affiliated with. And this culture was something that I was exposed to just over and over again in Liberia. My family left Liberia in 1980, in the late 1980s. We went to Guinea, we went to Sierra Leone, we came back to Liberia, we came to America. And for me, going back home meant so much to me because, you know, like many Liberians that come here that, you know, understood what Liberia was about, we yearn for home. And as a child who was here and in this place that I didn't understand, my family always told me to love my country and go back home. So when I went back home, it really broke my heart to see a lot of things that were going on to the you know, the reality of the children that we're facing. I volunteered at a couple of hospitals when I was there. The first time I saw a rape victim, she was maybe 3 years old. And we were at the president of one of the organizations that I work with, and she came in. She had a pop belly, like most kids her age, and she was afraid because she was holding on to the leg of the adult that she came into the house with. And she asked, you know, the adult asked, who's running this organization? And we, you know, tried to talk to her and answer who, identify herself. And this little girl was saying that her aunt was explaining to us that her niece was pretty much going to the bathroom on herself. So then we were asking her, why would she do that? And then eventually we got to the point where this 3-year-old child is telling us that every time she went to the bathroom, there was a man there who was putting his penis into her vagina. And then everybody, for me, I was in shock because, again, this is a 3-year-old child. And I don't understand how someone can look at a 3-year-old child with a pot belly who's just have no features that a woman needs to have, and look at them as a sexual object. So after speaking to that child, and just kind of sitting in the room with all of these females who were saying that, hey, this is a regular thing for us, it kind of made me understand, you know, why I went to Liberia. I started this organization. I wanted to, first thing I wanted to do was raise awareness about this issue. The issue was apparently really bad in Liberia, but I don't think people here in the diaspora knew how really bad it was. I think we heard about it, but we really needed to understand that there were actually babies in Liberia that were being raped, and it needed to be addressed. So for the past years after that, we've been having things like Palava huts. I don't know if many of you know about Olivia Zena, but Olivia was 12 when she was raped by someone in her family, and it led to her death. So we've been kind of sharing her story throughout the diaspora over here, letting people know that, listen, there are kids in Liberia who are not safe enough with their own family members. Rape is an issue in Liberia. How do we solve this issue? Where do we go from here? And how do we deal with this issue moving forward? We started a program called Safe Touch and Safe Touch. One of the issues I noticed with that child, most children, or actually most adults, they have a very vague concept of what rape is. They have a very vague concept. Kids need to understand the importance of their body parts. And when someone crosses the line and, you know, this is not okay. And we have this program called Safe Touch and Safe Touch, where we go to schools and we go to, you know, programs to teach people in the community that, you know, when it's kids, the conversation is different. This is your body part. When someone touches you here, you have to tell somebody. One of the major roadblocks we had with that was not with the children, were actually the adults. There were many schools that we went to where the teacher would be in the dial and say, oh, rape doesn't happen here. Go back to another school. We don't have that problem here. I remember one of the programs that we had the kids chanting, no more raping, and the teacher that was in their midst was saying, no more short skirts. If you don't want to be raped, don't wear short skirts. And for me, that was a personal issue for me, because when I went to Liberia, I went to the Ministry of Health. One of the things you have to do is go to the Ministry of Health to register your organization. On one occasion, I went there. It was hot that day. I went there during the dry season. I wore a skirt that was short, right above my knee. And I couldn't enter the building. And when I asked why can't I enter the building, I was told by the security guard, because my skirt is too short. So this was a government building that was enforcing the idea that a woman can be harassed or sexually assaulted because of what she's wearing. And it was even more traumatic for me because as I was speaking to the security guard to have access to the building, because I had a meeting to go to, one of the older ladies, must have been maybe her 60s, she said to another woman that was next to her that, they go into a government building with short skirting, then when somebody raped them, they cry and say somebody raped them. So again, this idea that someone is allowed to rape me because I'm wearing something short was reinforced. And it wasn't just in schools, it was literally in our daily activities, and it was being enforced by the government because the buildings that are run by the government are limiting people access because of what they were wearing. So then again, fast forward to some of the things that H.E.A.L was trying to do. Forensics. There is, and I'm not going to say this is just happening in Liberia and even the United States of America, there is an issue with forensics, collecting data, dealing with children, and especially in the case of Liberia when the kids are so young. If a child is sexually assaulted today, it is in the nature of children to want to forget traumatic experiences. A year from now, that child is either not going to recall the event the same way, or their story might change. And particularly when you're dealing with the kid in a scenario where the abuser is a family member, where you have family influences towards that child, things change over the years. So one of the things H.E.A.L's been trying to do with the government is provide forensics evidence when there is a rape case. In at least one case this summer, we were able to work with the government and some of the organizations in Liberia to send a forensics pathologist to Liberia for one of the really well-known cases there. So what we eventually want to do is be in a position to not send somebody here from America to Liberia to be able to do this, but have this on ground in Liberia. With that being said, I'm sorry guys, I have 10 minutes. I'm trying to rush through this and I'm very passionate about it. So giving me 10 minutes is a bit, it's a bit pressing.
Go ahead.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best. One of the third issue that we really try to focus on with the children with Liberia is empowering them to speak out for themselves. There is limited, I grew up in Liberia. I know what it's like to be a child in the Liberian community. Children are meant to be seen, not heard. That mentality has not changed for a very long time. When a child, especially with a child that was as outspoken as I am, I had a hard childhood for being put in my place a lot of times. So one of the things we try to encourage children to do and parents to do is to encourage their children to speak up and ask parents to try to listen. That does not mean a child has to be disrespectful. If you constantly put a child in a position where they feel like their voice should not be heard, their ideas is not important enough, the only person that benefits that environment is a predator. Because a predator benefits from a child who cannot speak about their experiences. And that is something we notice as a pattern in the Liberian community. A lot of times when these children are hurt, they don't want to talk about it. And particularly if the person who hurt them is an uncle, is an aunt, or a father. So our children feel suppressed. And in order for us to get them out of that hole is to empower them that this is your body. If someone touches it, you have the right to speak up. You have the right to tell somebody. You have the right to tell the police. And in that case, our responsibility then is to provide the resources to remove that child from the home if we need to. And that is one of the things that we've been working on. Just recently, we raised some money to send. We have 2 shelters in Liberia that we raised money for during the lockdown to send basic supplies to them: food, rice, sanitation products. I will say that it's challenging for us because within this lockdown, since the end of April, when the lockdown was implemented, there's been 600 plus rape cases. In Liberia, whenever you have the actual number of cases that were reported, you have to double that, because half of the time people don't speak up for some of the reasons that I'm telling you right now. And I don't want to make it seem that, this presentation is about all things that are bad, but I feel very strongly about children, because as someone who has a child, as someone who was raised in a home with 9 children, what I can tell you is children may be little now, but they remember. Everything that they go through now is a reflection of what our future is going to look like. So for me, this is a state of emergency. We sit down in meetings and we talk about building roads and building businesses and building schools. You can build a school with Harvard connection or Harvard credentials, but the problem is if a child that's going to that school does not feel safe enough to sleep in a bed, they're not going to perform well in that school. Yes, I'm going to wrap it up. And that's why I feel like, investing in our children is so important. Everything that we're doing here today, I left from Liberia. I used to walk on the roads that a lot of Liberian children are walking on right now. But here I am today. I'm a registered nurse, and I was actually just elected to the board of director for the largest nursing organization in the world. Every child in Liberia has the potential to do that, but it's up to us to start investing in them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mawata. And Mawata, yeah, thank you so much. Mawata has, her organization has partnered with the Liberian Community Association to provide supplies during this COVID period for their safe houses. And it's been working very well.